To say that the success of the Indian cricket team depends on his shoulders is not necessarily an exaggeration. He's not just the vice-captain of the team. By reputation, he's probably the most dependable player on the side. So what does he think went wrong in New Zealand? And more importantly, how will India fare in the World Cup? Those are just two of many questions that I shall put today to my guest, Rahul Dravid. Welcome to the program, Rahul.
Thanks, Karan.
Now, you've just come back from a depressing tour of New Zealand. Many people thought before you went that this could be India's first win overseas after a long, long time. Yet you ended up losing both the one-dayers and the test. What went wrong?
Yeah, I mean, it was disappointing, no doubt about it. I mean, we went there believing we had a good chance as well. I just think, obviously we didn't adapt to the conditions as well as we should have. And probably, I guess, it was a tight tour at the end of a long year. And to get prepared on those kind of wickets, I just guess we just didn't adapt well enough. And I mean, obviously, the wickets weren't exactly flash, as both teams have admitted. But in the end, I think they won the series, and the wickets were the same for both sides. So, we'll have to put our hands up and say that we probably didn't play as well as we should have.
Looking back, what do you think was the real problem? Was it the quality of the pitches you played on, or was it the swing and seam bowling you had to contend with?
Well, I mean, obviously the ball did seam a lot, actually, not swing so much, but seamed a lot off the wicket. And because I think they've had quite a wet summer, the wickets were probably quite damp. And probably didn't allow a lot of our batsmen to express ourselves as probably we would have liked to, and probably they would have liked to see us. I mean, it's definitely the public there. And obviously, I just guess, I think, they just fought hard enough to get the 20, 30 extra runs that we needed. Even though we probably lost the series 2-0 and the one day's 5-2, we lost two crucial tosses in the test matches. I think the tosses made quite a difference in the test matches.
So there was a bit of bad luck too?
Obviously a little bit, but I think in the end you make your own luck, and I think we should have fought hard enough to get the 30, 40 extra runs that would probably have given us a few more results, and I think, in that stage it's an area we need to look at, and an area we need to see. It's not, I guess it's not about winning big or winning pretty. I think it's really about finding the grit and determination to get those 30, 40 extra runs that we sort of required to win in some.
It's interesting, given the adverse conditions that you said a moment ago, that the batsmen couldn't express themselves, they felt a bit inhibited. Yet in India, there was a lot of adverse comment about what they call the indisciplined batting of the Indian side.
I mean, obviously, you're going to get criticized, and it's fair enough. I mean, when you go out and you're, an international batsman, a professional batsman, you're expected to do well in all conditions. And to get the criticism after a tour like that is acceptable. I mean, I have no qualms about it.
It doesn't upset you?
Not really. I mean, not really, because I expect, to be judged and evaluated on my performances, and they weren't up to my standards. Not really. I'm not really worried about what people write about me. I set my own standards and set my own goals, or what other people do. Or, it's easy to hide behind a facade and say, oh, none of the batsmen did well over there, and so I'm okay. But that's not the point. I mean, I had set myself certain goals, and I didn't probably achieve them. So I think that was disappointing from my point of view.
In fact, the sad part is that if you compare your own performance in New Zealand this time with your performance in 98, 99 when you were last there, then you got 2 test centuries, a one-day century, and at least 2 scores above 50. This time you didn't get a single century and just 1 score above 50.
Yeah, I mean, totally different tours really, and totally different wickets, to be honest.
So the comparison is unfair?
I think it is unfair. I don't think anybody could have expected to get the kind of success or the kind of runs that we scored in the last series. It would definitely have not been possible on these kind of wickets in these kind of conditions. We should have done better than we did, but to expect the same results that we did last time on these conditions, I think is impossible.
The wickets, of course, are repeatedly one of the reasons why the team, and you in particular, didn't do well. Would you say the wickets were doctored deliberately to put the Indians at a disadvantage?
I would like to think not.
But you have a sneaking suspicion that could be the case.
Well, I guess, I mean, obviously they would have liked to take our spinners out of the game. We had 2 world-class spinners, and definitely they would have liked to take the spinners out of the game, which most teams do. I mean, the fact that teams play to their advantages at home is nothing new. I mean, this has gone on for years, and it doesn't happen only in India, as people like to believe. I think teams all over the world do these things. They prepare wickets to suit, their strengths and try and negate the opposition's weakness. So that's not new, but I don't even think they expected them to seam as much as they did. I think, at the end of the tour.
You did it?
I don't think they made an attempt to overdo it, but I think probably just went out of hand in the sense that I just guess the combination of the weather, I think some poor groundsmen, just lost control of what was happening there. And I don't think they deliberately go out to do it, but I think they played to their strengths. There's no doubt about it. Which most teams do. So.
Come back to the specifics for a moment. What do you think went wrong, for instance, in your case in Hambleton? Last time in 98, 99, I think you scored 190 and 103. This time it was 9 and 39.
Well, the team got 94 this time. No, I mean, we went into Hamilton. I still remember, the groundsman watered the wicket a couple of days before the test match, and it rained for three straight days. We started the test match on a damp and a wet wicket. I mean, it was a crucial toss to lose that day. And to be fair, I mean, the wicket stayed damp right through. And we lost 22 wickets on the second day, which is probably a record. And 22 wickets haven't been lost for, I don't know, I think 30, 40 years before that. Just probably got a couple of good balls. The second innings, I thought I was batting well, played a poor shot, and it sort of got stuck with the tail a bit, so I thought I needed to, play a few shots. And
so it is a combination of overwatered wickets, losing the toss, and a bit of bad luck.
Yeah, and a bit of bad performance as well. There's no running away from that. I mean, there's a combination of factors. You cannot pin it down to one thing. I think all these things add up, and I guess in the end of the day, I mean, if you're professional, you say, well, I should surmount these challenges, and you have to put your hand up and say, well, we weren't good enough on this.
What about the sixth one day? We were talking a moment ago about the criticism that the team was batting in an undisciplined fashion. There we had this amazing result of 183 for 2 and the team suddenly collapsing to 198 for 9. Many people said you'd virtually tried to pluck defeat out of the jaws of victory.
Yeah, it was disappointing. Definitely, I mean, we probably should have wrapped that game up. Just guess probably the guys mentally relaxed sitting in the dressing room. I mean,
They got confident of winning too soon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess, when you need 20 runs with 10 wickets, with 7 wickets in hand and 9 overs to go, it can be a tendency to just, for the guys who are coming in next, to sort of relax and say that, it's all over. It can happen and probably shouldn't. And it's a good lesson for us, leading up to the World Cup.
So that's a question not so much of playing, but of getting and developing the right character and attitude.
Probably it happens to a lot of teams, and it's not happens to us. I think you can tend to relax sometimes, and you learn from these things. And I think it's been a good tour and a good learning lesson ahead of the World Cup.
The New Zealand press was pretty merciless in their criticism. They said, if I'm right, that the team was spineless, it was directionless. They even at one point in time, the Dominion Post I'm talking about, accused the team of lacking courage. How so?
I don't think that's true. I mean, I'd definitely like to go out and defend the guys on the trip. I thought we worked quite hard. We tried hard. I look back on the tour, and sometimes you reevaluate and you reassess and you say, okay, what went wrong, and was it a lack of effort, or was it a lack of attitude? Do you think that as a team we tried our best? And to be honest, I think we worked hard. We had good net sessions. We tried to get the best practice facilities available. The guys put in effort. The guys put in thought. The guys put in time. We were just not good enough in those situations at that point of time. I don't think it was a lack of effort, and probably a little bit of lack of skill in those conditions, which is something we need to look at and work on when we go the next.
And at the end of the day, the better side won.
Probably they did, yeah, definitely. I think in those conditions they were the better side, and I don't know if 2052 reflects the definite strengths of the side, but in those conditions, in those 1.5 months, they were the better team.
Of course, the problem is you face the World Cup. You're going to be going to South Africa. What will be the impact on the morale of the team of this depressing, disastrous New Zealand experience?
Right. I mean, because it's just the last thing that's happened. I guess people think it's very depressing and very disheartening. But I guess as a team, I mean, and from our point of view, it'll be a good test to see if we can lift ourselves up. And that's the quality and the strength of a good side.
Do you think you can?
I think we can. I definitely think we can. We've showed over the last 1.5 years some very good results. We've been very competitive in India and abroad. We've won some good tournaments in the last 1.5 years. I think we've got a good work ethic going. We've got a good team spirit going, and we've got some good guys around. I think we can turn this around, and I think that's a good test of a good side, really, to see if we can turn it around. And I don't think it's going to affect us as much as people think it will. We have the confidence of the last 1.5 years. So,
but you have a real test, a character ahead of you, because now it's not how you play, but the attitude with which you play that makes the difference.
Like I said earlier, I mean, and you asked me the last question, I don't think the attitude was too far wrong. I don't think we were, okay, we need to work on it. We need to probably get tough a bit mentally and stuff. But I think the guys have worked very hard, and everyone's quite keen, and the enthusiasm was there. And I think the attitude is quite good. I think we just need to see that we can ensure that we maintain that till the World Cup, and see that this last 1.5 months haven't affected our confidence as much.
But does it worry you that so many of your opponents will have seen what they consider to be your weaknesses in display in New Zealand and will seek to exploit them in South Africa?
Well, it might work to our favor, actually. I think some of them might get complacent. Some of them might think that, we've got the wood on India, and India doesn't look as strong as they will, and that's not a bad position to go into. That's not a bad situation to go into World Cup with a lot of teams underestimating you, and and thinking that you're not up to scratch.
That could be the surprise weapon on your side.
It could be, but I don't think teams will underestimate us. I think everyone in the world on television would have seen the kind of wickets that we played on, seen the scores of both teams, not just India. If we were getting smashed, and if we were getting getting out for 90 and other team was scoring 300, then you've got a problem. But everyone around the world, and especially the cricketers who play the game, would have seen the wickets and seen what's happened. And I don't think they'll be underestimating us.
In which case, stick your neck out and let me ask you a blunt question. How do you think the team's going to fare at this World Cup?
I'd like to think we'd do well. I mean, it's very hard to... I mean,
what are the odds going to win?
I don't place odds and I don't place bets. But all I'd say is I think we'll go out and play good cricket. I think we'll go out and try and fight and play tough cricket.
Into the semis?
I'd hope so. I mean, I don't go into tournament believing we can't win it. And I'd like to go into the tournament believing that we play good cricket. The key here is to play good cricket, consistent cricket for 1.5 months. It's not going to be easy, and we don't start as favourites.
And believe in yourself.
Yeah, and I think, and if we do these things, I believe we can go all the way.
All the way to the finals and win it?
Definitely. I mean, I'm not going to go into a tournament believing I can't win it. Definitely, I believe that we've got the capability of doing it.
Except that your win ratio in South Africa isn't necessarily that reassuring. I mean, compared, I'm told, to Pakistan's 41% of wins and Australia's astonishing 56% of wins, India in South Africa has a win rate of barely 27.27.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the past. I mean, I think over the last year and a half, we've got a good side together. Like I said, we're not going to be favourites. I'm not going to say here that we will do it or we won't do it. What I'm going to say is that we play good cricket. We play up to our potential. I believe there's a chance for us to go all the way.
What about your own personal performance at the forthcoming World Cup? You ended the last World Cup in England as the highest scoring batsman. Is it important to you to repeat that feat again?
Not as important as to win it, really. I mean, no, not really. I don't think I'm going to go out there to sit and try and achieve that.
So you wouldn't care if you weren't the highest scoring this time around?
Definitely not. I mean, definitely, I didn't go out in the last tournament trying to achieve, become the highest scorer in the tournament. I went out there trying to win it, and that's going to be obviously I batted at one down last time, probably gave me a bit more an opportunity. I probably bat a bit lower down this time, so it might not give me the kind of opportunity to do that. But I think more importantly, I'd like to see that we can do well and have a good tournament, because if we have a good tournament as a team, then that will give us huge satisfaction.
So there's no personal pressure on you to have to perform at the same level as last time around?
There's a pressure to perform, because I know that I'd like to contribute. I'd like to contribute to us winning and doing well. And as a senior member of the side, I believe that I have a responsibility to contribute. So that kind of pressure is there. There's no pressure to just to repeat the performance of last time. I mean, I'm not even going to think about trying to do what I did last time. I'm just going to try and do well and try and play with a bit of responsibility and see if I can get the guys across.
Now let's take a break. I want to come back in part 2 and talk about you personally as a cricketer. They say that 2002 was possibly your best year ever. I want to find out whether you agree with them. That's the subject after the break. See you in a moment's time. Welcome back. My guest is India's Vice Captain, Rahul Dravid. They used to call you the wall, Rahul. Now they call you Mr. Dependable. Is that an indication of how much your batting has changed and improved?
I don't know, really. I've never been one for these names or these things that people call you. I've never really been one for those. I don't know. I mean, what's the difference between a wall or dependable? Or I mean, it's I don't know. It's all relevant, I guess, to the last tour or to your last innings, really.
And the press can change with its mood very quickly.
Yeah, easily. I mean, so I just get. I mean, these things really don't matter to me. I mean, the people can call me what they like.
Except the interesting thing is that if you look at your performance in tests in 2002 and exclude the 2 tests that you played in New Zealand, in the remaining 14 you scored 5 centuries, and I believe you have an average of 64.52. Would that make it your best year ever?
It would, I think, definitely, statistically, and even the way I played, I thought it was probably my best year. In terms of the way I batted right through. I felt in good rhythm. I felt I was probably at the top of my game. And, I thought that confidence was going right through. I felt I was quite physically fit as well over the year and mentally in a good place, really.
What do you attribute this to?
A combination of things. I think, obviously the increased physical fitness over the year, I think, getting some good help from people like Adrian and Andrew, playing in a good team environment. I think I really enjoyed playing in the environment that the team we had this whole year and a half. We had a good team environment, and I enjoyed working in that kind of environment. I think that brought the best out of me personally as well.
Let's look at some of the highlights of last year. There was the Georgetown innings when you scored 144 not out. How badly shaken were you when at 59 you got hit on the head by a Mervyn Dillon delivery?
little bit initially. More surprised than anything else that I got hit.
Surprised rather than pain?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't feel the pain initially. I was just a bit, shaken up that I made an error of judgment, which sort of upset me, and then I guess the physio came in and it was hurting a bit, was paining a bit, but he said you should be okay and just gave me a pill and gave me one of those painkillers and said you should be okay.
When you get hit like that, does that affect your confidence, or does that in fact make you even more determined to go out and show the bowler when you can hit him for six?
I think it probably does. I guess it's how you react to it. I think I thought it just made me a little more determined, and I guess the situation helped because at that situation, I needed to carry on because we needed to save the follow-on to save that test match, and so there was no option. I had to go on, and I had to go on batting. So there was, I had to stay there and fight, and I think that probably helped me.
Challenges bring out the best in you?
I think they do. I think they do. I love a challenge, and the great thing I love about cricket and the whole, apart from everything else, is just the contest that it is. It's a huge contest between you and somebody else, and I love the competition, and it's a contest between yourself. I think your thoughts or your fears and your sort of you're competing with yourself in a lot of ways in the sport as well, and I love that. I love the buzz of competition, and it's something that I thrive for. That's what I think. If people ask me what you love, I love the game, but probably love the competition more.
Was, of course, that glorious moment in Lord's just a little bit later when you were poised at 217 and everyone thought you were going to beat Gavaskar's record, but sadly you got run out instead. Do you regret responding to Radra's call? No,
not at all. I mean, it happens in an instinct, happens at a moment, and you don't regret these things. I mean, after the event is over, and obviously you wouldn't want to get run out, and you wouldn't want it to have happened. But once it's happened, it's happened. It's,
But surely you must have known when you made up your mind to run that you were putting yourself in grave danger.
I knew I was putting myself in grave danger and probably wouldn't make it, but...
You knew all of that? Instinctively?
Instinctively, I guess you just know that, here's a tight one.
So you were being a sportsman rather than being selfish?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, these things happen too instinctively to make up your mind and say, and if somebody tells me that, no, that was a great piece of, you were being a martyr and you were being a sportsman and, you sacrificed yourself, I would say no, because it was an instinctive thing. I didn't have time to think about being selfish, and nor did I have time to think of being a martyr.
What about the opposite? Instinctively you did the gentlemanly and the right thing, but then later on, in leisure, did you regret it?
Well, you regret getting run out. You don't regret actually doing it. You don't regret actually taking the chance, because you respond to a person's call, and that's the way you're taught to play the game. That's the way you're taught how to play the game right from a young age. Your coach tells you that you respond to your partner's call.
So that's the spirit of cricket.
That's what it's all about. You don't regret that. You regret getting run out, but you don't regret, responding to a call.
You once said, flair is an overrated commodity. People overrate style. I would rather be thorough, consistent and methodical than brilliant and inconsistent. Is that your reply to people who used to, not now so much as earlier, say, Rahul's a boring batsman?
Well, I'd like to be boring and successful. I mean, obviously it's great to have flair and be successful. I mean, you look at, say, the Laras or the Tendulkars, and you look at these people, and they've got probably a combination of both, and they're great players, and they can probably have both of those things. But the bottom line is you have to be consistent, and you have to be successful. I generally do believe that people rate flair and style too much. I mean, when you select teams or when you build a team, I think you got to look for people who are consistent, who work hard, and who'll do the job for you when it's required. I mean, and on top of that, if they do have flair and style, and that's fantastic. And you want to have all of that, but you definitely don't want people who have the flair and style but are not consistent. I mean, in the end of the day, you want to win cricket matches. In the end of the day, you want to do well, and if it's a trade-off between the two, I would go for the consistency.
Now, at the moment, you're also the wicket-keeper of the Indian side. Is that an additional responsibility that you're happy to accept, or have you done it really because the team needed you to do it?
Initially, obviously, I think initially I didn't believe that I could do it. To be honest, I thought that I got in when sort of the idea was mooted around, and though I had done it at the under-19 level, I hadn't done it for 10 years, except on and off, for India.
Did the challenge attract you?
It did in a lot of ways. I knew there would be an extra challenge, and a lot of people said I wouldn't be able to do it. So I said, well, I must try and do it.
Just to prove them wrong.
Not only that, but initially, to be honest, I didn't believe that. I think it was the right way to go. I thought that, and I still believe that in the long run, India does need a specialist wicketkeeper batsman. We need to find someone like a Gilchrist or a Boucher or an Andy Flower. I mean, we don't have that at the moment, unfortunately, and Parthiv looks, very exciting and promising, and he could be the man in a few years' time. In the long run, I think India needs to find a regular wicket-keeper batsman. But we need a wicket-keeper batsman. There's no way that in international cricket today, in one-day cricket, that you can be successful without your wicket-keeper being in the top 6. And I think in the interim, I guess it was, I was asked to do the job. And I think the way the results have gone over the year, I've, as you can see, maybe probably become a bit of a believer. So, till the World Cup, I'll have a go at it, see how it goes.
Isn't it an unacceptable risk in terms of both exhaustion and injury that you're running?
Well, every time you play cricket for your country, you risk injury. Whether, and that's not, people have told me that, no,
But you're also the sheet anchor batsman most of the time, so if you get injured wicket-keeping and you're batting second, you might not be needed where you're really wanted.
Well, that's true, but if I look at the negatives, why think that you'll get injured? I never go into sport, I never go into life believing in the negatives. I always look at things positively. And I'd like to believe in it positively and say that if I do this job, we might get an extra batsman, and that batsman, might win us a World Cup, like it did win us the Natas Trophy.
What happens when you have a bad day wicket-keeping? I gather you didn't have a very easy time during the finals of the ICC Championship Trophy in Sri Lanka. Now, when that happens, does it affect your batting? Does it affect your spirit and concentration?
It's disappointing as a wicketkeeper not have a good day, because I feel as a wicketkeeper when you drop a catch sometimes, more than batting, when you say you get out, you probably, obviously you let your teammates down and you let yourself down. But as a keeper, if you drop a catch, you let a bowler down, which can sometimes be thing. But I guess you got to get over it, and the teammates have been very supportive. I mean, the guys have been great. They understand that I'm not a regular wicketkeeper. They've been terrific with me. They've always come to me and said, well done, you're doing a great job for the side, keep it up, whatever people may say. We believe in you, and we want you to do the job. So when you hear that from your own teammates, that's a huge confidence, because then you know that these guys in the room, who you really play for, want you to do it, and you're willing to do it.
Rahul, one last question. We've talked a lot about cricket, we've talked a lot about you as a cricketer, but the audience would be furious if I don't put to you the fact that you're 30, you're successful, you're obviously rich. Do you feel, with all these things, that you need a wife?
No interview ends. Well, I've just been too busy playing cricket at the moment. I haven't given it a thought. And at some stage, yeah, I guess, you'll settle down. But the time will come, I think there's a few more things to occupy my mind at the moment.
And at the moment, batting and being wicketkeeper is a bigger priority for you than finding a wife.
Exactly, yeah. Playing the World Cup right up the corner, so that's what we're all looking at.
Rahul Dravid, good luck in the World Cup, and thank you for a wonderful interview.
Thank you.